Hey everyone, and welcome to my craft room. My name's Julianne Richardson. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in Southern Tasmania. This is the tutorial video for my March 2023 Love Cats product class. There are 3 really cute cards using this Love Cats stamp set, and you get enough in your kits to make 2 each of these, so 6 cards in total, and you will need the Love Cats stamp set to complete this one. So if you've bought the full class, you will receive the Love Cats stamp set as well, but otherwise I'm assuming you've got that one in your stash already. Okay, so there's, as I say, 3 cards, quite cute little cards. I really love this stamp set. He's got so much character, this little cat, these little cats. To get the images nice and dark, I am suggesting that you use a stamping platform or your Stamparatus, whatever stamping platform you use, just to make sure you can come in a few times with your ink and get that black ink nice and black. So I've got my Stamparatus here off at the side, and we'll be using that when we get to the cat stamping. Okay, so I've got this one in my hand. We might as well do this one first. So we'll pop that aside. So this is our little cat just sort of hanging around, having a lovely day. This one is I've used this one a wee bit. It's a sort of a pop-up card where this piece, this round circle, slips through a hole like this. So that's the way it goes. And you can also use it if you've got another piece of design series paper or cardstock. You can pop it in there and make a little pocket and turn it into a gift card holder. But I am just using this one as a card. Okay. Right, so let's have a look at what you've got in your kit. So some people may have slightly different designer series paper, because I wanted to use as much as I could from the pack. The designer series paper is from a current designer series paper, and I'm going to have to pop it into the notes because I can't remember right now. Country Floral, I haven't got it close enough to look. Floral Hearts, something like that, country something. Anyway, so I will, as I say, pop it in the PDF what paper it actually is, so you can buy some more if you like it. So in your card base you have, and I think the red of this card base is showing up really fluorescent in my camera, so I'm not quite sure what it's looking like for you, but it is a pinky red. It is our Sweet Sorbet designer series paper, cardstock. It is a card base. It's cut and scored already, and you'll have this hole cut out. All the measurements are in the PDF, so I'm not going to go too crazy giving you measurements here. You can pop to your PDF and look at those. Okay, so we're going to start with the designer series paper. Now, it is important with this card that you put the designer series paper on first, because then we want to come in over the top with our circles. So if you pop the designer series paper on after the circle, you'll cover over your cute little circle. So we are going to pop this first one on first. So depend which side you like. I'm going to use the stripy side on the outside. Just like that. And then we're going to pop the top one on. I've just finished the Ready to Ride video, and while I was doing the video I realized that I was doing this next bit the hard way. We've got another piece of designer series paper there that's going to use the opposite side. So you would have probably one with some hearts on it like this one. I ran out of that one at the moment, so I'm using a different pattern. But I'm going to use the flowers, which is the other side to the stripes. Okay, so I'm going to use that here. So there's a few ways to do this. You can glue it first and then come back in with the 2-inch punch if you have it, or a 2-inch die, and cut the excess out. Or you can glue it first and then grab a pair of scissors and cut it out, which is what I did with the other card, which is quite fine. You just cut by hand, cut out that wee bit there. Or, and I'm going to do it this time, you can actually not glue it, just pop it in place. So you pop it in place so that you get the border the same top with the score, bottom and sides. Flip it over and grab a pencil. Make sure that that's right. Flip it over, grab a pencil, just do a very thin pencil line where that circle is. Okay, and then grab your scissors. Much easier if you have the punch and you can punch over the hole. But if you haven't got the punch, just cut it with scissors is quite a reasonable option. So that line that very faint line that I've done with a pencil is there. So I've cut that out, and that will line up perfectly with our hole if I've done it right, which I have. So there we are. So we've got the full, haven't covered over that hole at all. You need to keep your hole uncovered, so to speak. So there we are. I'm going to pop this one on now. Okay. So the important thing with this card is that whichever way you do it, that your designer series paper doesn't overlap into the center of the hole at all. Well, as minimal as possible. And the reason is because this circle has to fit through that hole, and if it's clogged up with any paper or it stops it from going through, your card's not going to work properly. So there we are. Okay, so I've got my hole on the left hand side there and the right hand side there. So if you wanted it, if it's on the left, if you've done it, it was a bit late now, you can just fold the whole thing a different way and then it would be on the right hand side. Okay, so but depending on how it looks when you get it out of the envelope, you can fold it this way and get the hole on the left hand side, or flip it round and have the hole on the right hand side. I'm going to continue now because I've got everything on there with it on the left hand side, so it's a bit of a mirror image of the original card, but it's not going to matter. In fact, it's going to be just as good. Okay, so there we are. We have our card decorated. I'm going to pop the white panel on the inside now, so I don't use it for something it's not meant to. So this one pops on the inside bottom, like that. You could bring in another stamp, another sentiment, or an image of another image of our little pussycat. Bring him in there. Okay. And as I say, put an extra piece, a little envelope in there for a gift card if that's the way you want to do it. Okay, so now we're going to bring in our circle. So this is the circle, with 2-inch punch circle, and it's going to fit into that little gap there. And it's going to fit so that it can slip back through that circle when the card is open and closed. So what you need to do is open your card as such. So the designer series paper here is facing upwards. You need to just put glue on the bottom half of your circle. Bring it back in and line it up so it fits in and fills that gap, so to speak, of the circle that's been punched out. Okay, so bring it a little bit closer so you can see. So there, it's filling the gap. It slips through. It slips through when you slip it through. Okay, so that's why I'm saying you don't overhang anything there. So it slips through nice and just when your glue dries. Probably not best to do it until your glue dries, because then you're going to flip it up anyway. So that's what you're going for there. Okay, and as I say, it slips through like that. So next thing to do is grab our white. So this is the 3/4 inch punch. We're going to grab that. We're going to use one of the sentiments from the stamp set, the Love Cats stamp set. I love hanging out with you. It fits really nicely in that little circle. And we're just going to use black ink. I'm not going to bother with the Stamparatus at this stage, because I think the sentiment will stamp dark enough. There we are. I love the font of this one. It's sort of almost like a small child in a way has written that. Pop some glue on that one and just into the center of our circle. There we are. So that's the sort of basis of this card, of all the cards that I've made with this design. That is the fundamental basics of it. So now we're going to add our cute little pussycat. So you should have in your kit just a scrap of white cardstock, and this is where we're going to grab our stamparatus. I'm going to pop the stamp piece of cardstock in and attach it down with my magnets. I have to move those in a second. And we want our hanging around cat. Now we don't particularly want his hearts, the hearts that are coming up there. So that's, you probably look at the piece of cardstock I've given you and go, oh, that's not wide enough to get the whole thing. We actually just don't want the hearts. We're going to leave those. We're going to be fussy cutting this little guy out. So we don't need those hearts. As such, we're just going to stamp just straight him, the cat. So I'll ink him up. You do want his nice long tail though. So I'll grab where's my glider? Don't forget to grab your glider if you want to save your wrists. Okay, so he's not bad, but I'm going to come in with another go just to make him nice and black. Nice black cat. Like my fur babies, or one of the fur babies is a nice black cat. Fur grandbabies, I mean. Okay, and there we are. So that's nice and dark and black now. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to grab that piece out and grab my scissors. Now we're going to fussy cut him. Now we're going to, as I say, we don't need the hearts, so we'll leave those off, and we don't need that ledge that he's supposedly sitting on either. So we can just purely cut the cat. He's not too hard to fussy cut. He's just nice straight curves or curvy curves. Also, we don't need his whiskers. So don't panic, you can cut those off as well. We cut off his shelf and we cut off his whiskers. And you might be thinking, oh, that's rough, cutting off his whiskers, but we will get them back in there, don't worry. Whiskers gone, shelf gone. Sorry, I moved away from my mic there for a minute. I'm still using the mic on my webcam due to my headset dying horribly and scratchily. And my youngest was going to help me buy a new microphone during his last visit, but somehow we didn't get around to it. So still looking. Well, I'm not looking. I'm waiting for Sam to tell me what I should buy. He's investigating and then I'm buying. I used to say to people at work when I was working, they'd say, do you know about such and such? And I'd go, no. And they'd go, oh, well, you don't. And I said, well, I'd often say, I don't need to know everything because I only need to know who does know everything. And so that's what I'm saying with this microphone. I don't need to know what microphone to buy as long as I know somebody who can tell me which microphone to buy, whose word I trust. Okay, so we've got our pussycat here. He's all stamped. Need to work out where we want him on the card. So I'm going to have his tail hanging off the edge a wee bit. So we're obviously not going to add any glue or anything to there. We're just going to have him sitting there on the card. So getting a little bit sneaky here, I'm going to get the pussycat off the Stamparatus. I'm going to give him a wipe first before I get ink on my hands. Give him a wipe first and pop him on a block. So this is where we're going to get all of his bits and pieces back, his whiskers and his, that's a block that's big enough, yes. So whiskers and his hearts and everything. So we've got him on a block here. What I'm going to do is open up the card. And this isn't, it's entirely up to you whether you do this part. It's just as nice if you just add him straight. But I want his whiskers and his little hearts back. So I'm going to grab him on the block where I've decided that I want the actual image. Bring in my card base, open it up because we don't want to stamp it anywhere but here on this part. Ink that up so it's nice and inky. Put it into the position on the card where you want it. So keep in mind that we said we were going to have him just there. Okay, so we're going to have him just there. So just in that position, or roughly that position, bring in the actual stamp and stamp it. Make sure it's straight or we're going to have a crooked pussycat. So his tail will be off and his actual one paw is off. So it's not a hugely dark stamp, but that's okay. We can live with that. We don't want to come back in again and go over it. We just want an image of that, roughly where we're going to put him. So what we're actually interested in here is we'll put it in line so you can see those whiskers. So we can see that shelf, we can see that as hearts. And the rest of it's going to be covered over by our wee little pussycat that we've stamped nice and dark there. Okay, so I'm just going to glue him. If you see there, I've brought him back into place. And those pieces that we cut off, you can see them. I'll bring in the glue. So the glue just, we don't want it on his tail or too far down his tail because that's going to be suspended in midair. Bring that in and back over, line it up with the image. And there we are. He's magically regrown his whiskers and his little shelf that he's sitting on. And I've used too much glue, but that's not unusual. And you can see his little hearts as well coming off as he thinks about you lovingly, which is not a very cat thing to do, I'm sure. I don't know that cats think of humans lovingly. Maybe he's thinking of food or his favourite ball of wool or something. There we are. Okay, so that's our little pussycat. Be careful when you're folding this up now because he's got his tail hanging in midair like that, so you have to be a bit careful with his tail. Too much glue, Julianne. And then it folds over like that. And there he is, just sitting there, all sort of leisurely like a cat does. Okay, so bling. We're going to pop some bling. We're just going to pop it onto the circle, on the white circle where the sentiment is. Now, if you bought the kit, you might be looking and going, oh, Julianne, where did you put the bling? I've given everybody a little bit more bling than they will actually need. I've just given you a whole strip of the bling. This is the opaque adhesive back gems, so it's the beautiful red ones. So in one of your kits, and I can't remember which kit it was, it might be this one, it might be the other one, there'll be a whole row of these, so you can use those on your card. So I've got, I think, 3 each for at least 2 of the cards is what you should have enough for. But rather than separate them all into each kit, I've popped them together so that I could make sure everyone got the right amount, so to speak, and it saved me some cutting time, some preparation, which is always good. Okay, so we've got 3 of those just on that white there, just for a bit of bling. Okay, so that's our I love hanging out with you cat card. So that's the first one of our Love Cats class. So I'll pop those away so I don't lose them. We'll bring them back in a minute. Okay, card number 1. Just pop that back. So there's our original. Okay, card number 2. Let's do card number 2. So card number 2 is quite interesting actually, and it involves a wee bit of hand drawing. So don't freak out. It's nice and easy, and there's a nice quick way that I've worked out to get a nice even hand draw. So you're actually drawing, and it's a good technique for lots of cards. If you can get used to doing things by hand. We're just drawing ourselves a wee border around the edge there, just in the right place for our little upside down cat to fit in the corner. Okay, so what you need to do, and I'll get rid of that as well. Try and keep everything organised since I'm doing all 3 videos at once, 3 cards at once. Okay, put that one in there as well. Okay, so to make the hand-drawn lines, you're going to need a black marker. So you can use this is the black Stamp Right marker. You could use a black texture, a black Sharpie, nice thin black Sharpie, something like that. Anyway, so that's what you need. And to colour in our little heart, you're going to need a red texture or a marker. This is my dark sweet sorbet blend, so I'm going to use that as well. Okay, so grab your kit out. Not much to this one. It's all down to you to make this one special. You've got your sweet sorbet card base again. You've got a piece of white cardstock for the centre. I'm going to pop that in now. And then another piece of cardstock for your image for the front. Put that one in there. Must have ink on my fingers. Yes, I do. I would normally go and wash them in between cards, but I haven't got that luxury this time. Eraser. Just a plain, I always just use, I know you can get the special ink adhesive rubbers, but I always just use a plain pencil rubber. It comes off quite just as well. I find the mono rubbers tend to be like sandpaper a bit, which is good for ink, but the glue just comes off with a normal rubber. So that's the inside. So I'll pop that aside while we do the workings on our piece of white. Okay, so to do the really lovely border by hand, grab yourself your ruler and again bring back in your pencil. So what we're going to do is we're going to do well, it doesn't have to be too light because we're going to bring our rubber back in anyway, 1/2 inch in from each of the ends. We're going to pop a line. Now I'm going to just do it by ear, so by eye, so 1/2 inch. We can line it up with your grid paper, 1/2 inch, and just pop a faint line. Then do the same on the side, so 1/2 inch in. Look, and you don't even have to be that particular with your 1/2 inch, just that sort of distance, a centimetre, just over 1/2 inch, something like that. Probably just important that it's straight-ish. And even that doesn't matter too much because we're going to be doing a hand-drawn line over the top of it. Okay, so there we are. I've just drawn myself a half in from each corners, like a 1/2 inch line. Okay, with my ruler. I don't think even my ruler's straight, to be honest. So might be you have a bit of a practice before you come in. If this worries you, just get a piece of paper and practice. So what you're going to do, I'm going to use the fine end of my marker, and I'm going to just by hand follow that line. But I'm going to go past the edge, if that makes sense. I'm going to form a little crosshatch in every corner. So it's not an exact rectangle. It's just a series of lines that cross each other at the corners, if that makes more sense. So grab your pen, just your hand, just be, pretty loose about it, pretty relaxed, and just follow that line. Now, if you want to, and And if you think you can, deliberately go on one side of the line or the other. So at the beginning, say maybe go to the top of the line and then come back down and follow the line for a bit and then dip under it and then go back over it again, go follow it all the way. But I'll always go probably 1/8 of an inch past the end, just so you've got that little crosshatch thing happening. Okay, I'm going to go down here, over the line, under the line, straight along the line, and then past the next one. And the same here. I went quite under the line then, but that's okay. I can say I did that on purpose. So that's one turn. Okay, so one go. Then if you like and you're comfortable and happy with that, we'll come in for a second. So what I'm going to do is make sure that in lots of places you can see that there's 2 lines. Okay, so try not to go over it exactly, the previous one, but just sort of dip it in and around it so that you can see in places that there are 2 lines happening. Not too far apart, but distinctly two lines in places. Say, I'll show you up here. Say in one part of it you dipped, like the first line you dipped over the line, maybe make it the second line go under. So you've got quite a reasonably sized gap between them too, just so they look sort of random. And then we'll do this one. And this one. Oh, see, that one went quite a distance, and I won't even say it was a mistake because it's fine. As I say, grab some cardstock, grab your pencil and your ruler and give it a go. Give it a bit of a practice before you come in if that's what you want to do. But that's what we want to do there. So that's what we've got our frame all ready and done. Now, I've gone so tight over my little pencil marks there, I don't really think I need to bring in the rubber at all, the eraser. So I'm just going to leave that as is. But if you find that you've gone a little bit away from the pencil line, or your pencil line's gone a little bit further through, just grab your eraser, your rubber, and just take those out. Make sure you keep, as I say, keep your pencil line nice and light so that it comes off completely. So anyway, that's our little frame. So I'm going to bring back in my Stamparatus because I want my pussycat to be nice and dark. Bring back the Stamparatus. This time it's our little corner pussycat. I'll bring that in. Bring our magnets in. So it's our little pussycat that sort of looks like he's just got himself into a tangle and he doesn't know how to get out. But as long as he's got that dangly heart, he's happy. The good thing with using the Stamparatus with this one is you can position it, as long as he's nice and clean, position it so that he pretty much exactly butts up against the corners that you've made with the frame you've just drawn. So use the sticker on your stamp set to just line that up so that his little back is hard up against that frame, the side frame, and that that head, the flat bit that's supposed to be the floor, runs along the bottom there. And if you're very, very clever, you can actually get that little bit of, there's a tiny little jutty bit of floor there. If you're very clever, you can line that up with your own pencil mark and you won't even see it. Let's see how that went. Okay, so let's ink him up. Again, as I say, I'm using my Stamparatus so that I can come in and make sure he's nice and black and dark. Let's see how successful I've been with that placement. Oh yeah, not bad, but he's going to need a second go. At least a second go. Perfect. Look at that. That's so cool. It just looks like he's there, rammed up against the corner, but so intent on his little hangy dangly thing that he doesn't even know what he's done. Okay, so I will clean that off now. We don't need to use that one anymore, so we can get that out and pop it back in the box. We will need a sentiment. There's a head over heels, which makes a lot of sense with this little guy. Head over heels about you. So since his heels are over his head. Anyway, it's quite the other way around. That's the sentiment we're going to use. And I'm just going to pop it there at an angle. Now, I think that sort of, the fact that that's sort of at an angle, you know, slightly off to one side, sort of fits with the whole, you know, calamity of this little guy. So yeah, I quite like it like that. And I'm going to actually use the Stamparatus to keep that, and while I've got it in there, to do that nice and dark as well. Don't have to, but since I've got it all inked up and in position, let's do that. There we go. Head over heels about you. Okay, so that's that. We'll get that out. Put that back in. Being careful with my inky fingers. I don't want white is not friends with me sometimes, white cardstock. Okay, so I'm going to grab my Sweet Sorbet dark blend, and just before we do anything else, I'm going to colour in that heart. Now this is a really simple, effective card, and that is basically all there is. You've got some bling, you've got some spare bling from your kit, from where it's in the kit. You might decide to pop that in, but to be honest, I'm not. I think it's just such a sweet, simple, quirky little card that doesn't need all the bells and whistles. It's just, yeah, it's just simple. Just is what it says on the box. It's a cat stuck in a corner with a hand frame around him. So there we are. Okay, so that's card number 2. I hope you like that one, and use that frame. You can use that frame technique on lots of things. You can imagine it with some, you know, you could frame with some flowers in the corner or something like that. That would be sweet as well. Yeah, so yeah, a nice little hand-drawn technique. Okay, so that's card number 2. I hope you like that one. I think that's my favourite, just for all its sweet simpleness. Okay. Now, card number 3. Also, we've got the other pussycat from our collection. He's just sort of hanging over the edge of a, I don't know, clothesline or something there, just hanging around. If it fits, I'll sit. And this doesn't really fit, but he's decided to sit. We've got our double punch, double oval punch used there, little strip of designer series paper, and some layers in the black and the white, which go beautifully with the red of the Sweet Sorbet. So this is what your kit should look like. Sweet Sorbet card base with a inside white panel. So I'm going to pop that in now. Again, we're going to use our Stamparatus to get our pussycat nice and dark and black. Pop that there. Okay, so let's get this party started. So I'm going to grab the white little layer, which is what our pussycat's going to be on. I'll grab, before we do anything else, I'll just do, now, probably should get the positioning right. So let me have a look. We're going to have the white panel on the black panel like this. The pussycat's going to be up here, and then below him there's going to be a black strip with a strip of designer series paper. So you'll all have a slightly different designer series paper, but it'll be cute and red. So like that. And then over the top of that will be our sentiment box, our oval and our sentiments. So that's how it's going to look. So from that you can work out that we need our pussycat dangling in the top, definitely in the top half of that piece of that piece of cardstock. Don't let him come too far down, because we've got a whole lot of stuff happening down there that we don't want to get in the way of. So he's going to be in the top half of the piece of cardstock. I'll grab the Stamparatus back again. It's getting a bit of use today. Put that in there. Put one there and one there. Grab out our pussycat. So our hangy pussycat. Now his clothesline, or whatever it is that he's hanging from, is a lot wider than our piece of cardstock. You see there, we're going to chop that off, but that's okay. So as I say, we're going to have him hanging in the top half of the card and sort of even, so that the two pieces of his clothesline sort of are straight. They come in at straight angles, at the same sort of angle. Obviously don't do him like that. That doesn't look it doesn't look too bad actually. Could do him that way. Looks like he's sort of coming in from the side. That could be cute too. But anyway, I'm going to do him straight. So just like that. And leaving, again, as I said, leaving a fair bit of room down here for our sentiment and our strip of designer series paper. Okay, let's do that. Definitely need to come in a few times with these pussycats. I think the first time with these cling stamps, I think the first time it takes a while for the ink to actually be absorbed in coverage wise into the rubber. So I think that's the first one, is really just getting it to take, I suppose, in a way. Perfect. There he is, dangling around, just hanging around. There we are. Here we are. Okay, so let's bring back the panel with the black panel that this is going to sit on. Just glue that on there. Now I'm not using dimensionals on this part. I'm going to use the dimensionals on the sentiment box. It's up to you. If you want that extra bit of height, you might want to pop this on dimensionals as well, but I won't be. There we are. A black cat on a cat on a wire. Okay, so this is going to sit in the center of our sentiment box. As such. I'll check the time. I'm meeting some ladies for lunch today, so I didn't want to make these go too long. We're nearly finished though. So that's the card base there. Now we'll bring in the strips. Oh, there's a strip of black and a strip of designer series paper. So pop that in there. So you want it sort of the same sort of distance by eye between the bottom of that heart and the bottom of the white. So if you can sort of, just for symmetry's sake, just position it roughly there. That's my taste anyway. You guys know I'm big on symmetry and evenness and straightness. There we are. And then we'll bring in the piece of designer series paper. So there'll be a gap top and bottom with this, but the piece of black cardstock and the designer series paper should be exactly the same length, so they meet at the ends. Okay, yours will probably be a bit more like the original with sort of a gingham sort of pattern, but I ran out, so that's what I got, which is quite nice. Okay, so we're going to do our sentiment now. We've gone a bit blurry. That's because I brought everything up close. Come on. Anyway, I'll plough on because we're nearly done. Grab your sentiment and your out of your block. I'm going to use, because I haven't used it yet, I'm going to use Hey There Valentine. I don't know that anyone, I don't think I've had a Valentine forever, but you might be making it for someone special, for a grandchild or a child to give to somebody special. Or you can substitute out and use a different sentiment, entirely up to you. The head over heels, no, not that one. There's one about hanging around. Love hanging out with you would be good, but I don't think it would fit the little oval. But Hey There Valentine fits perfectly, so we'll go with that. There we are. Okay, and the last step is we'll pop the glue, the white oval to your red serrated oval, the matching from the punch. It is an awesome punch. If you haven't got that punch, please grab it. I think it's the best punch. That's the double oval punch. So you get the little oval and the matching serrated oval in the same punch. It's glorious. There we are. That's why I use it such a lot. We're going to grab some dimensionals and pop that on. So we're just going to pop that sort of over the center of that designer series label, designer series paper strip. Just there. You can see now why I said it was important not to bring your little pussycat down too low, because he would be hidden under there if that positioning was wrong. Okay, again, I'm going to grab my Sweet Sorbet Dark blend and just colour in that heart. And again, you've got some bling. The opaque adhesive back gems. Going to use the red ones. Yep, it's already out. So as I say, if you're looking for your bling in the packs, they're all in one together. So I haven't given you like millions for one card. Just actually use them across the 3 cards as you wish. As I say, I haven't used any on that central card, so you can choose to use some on that or just use them on the 2 that I'm using the bling on. Okay, so there we are. Cute little guy hanging around. There we are. So that's card number 3. There we are. So that's my Love Cats class. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. It's a cute little set. I think we can use it for lots of things. You don't have to necessarily use those sentiments. You can swap out and swap in other ones that you like from your stash. But it's those little pussycats just have so much personality. It's so cute. Okay, if you're a cat person or you know somebody who is. So there's our 3 cards for this class. Hopefully you've enjoyed those. Yeah, really like that. I think that's a keeper as well, a keeper in the craft room. There's lots in the current catalogue that will make it into the keeper pile, and I think that's one of them. Okay, thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this class. Hope you enjoyed those cards, and I hope as well that I will see you next time. Bye.